Have you ever wondered what God desires from your heart after a great feast like the Immaculate Conception? Have you ever felt inspired by grace one day, only to wake up the next and not know how to carry that grace into your ordinary life? And have you ever longed for simple, practical, gentle actions that would help you remain close to Our Lady and to God in the quiet days that follow such a holy celebration? Saint Thérèse of Lisieux believed that the true fruit of every feast is found in the little actions that follow, not in extraordinary practices, but in small daily gestures offered with love. After great graces, God looks not for greatness, but for small hidden acts of love. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux. Before we go on, subscribe if you want to walk this little way with us, a path where simplicity becomes holiness. The Feast of the Immaculate Conception reminds us of Mary's purity, humility, and total openness to God. But for Thérèse, the real question was always this: how do we live the next day? How do we carry the grace of a feast into a normal Monday, into our routines, into our small duties, into our quiet struggles? Her answer was simple: by doing 3 small daily actions that keep the heart pure, humble, and full of love, just like Mary's. Imagine the day after a feast in the convent of Lisieux. The candles have burned down. The hymns have faded into memory. The liturgy has passed. The celebration is over. Yet Thérèse walks through the corridors with a serenity that suggests something deeper. Her devotion didn't end with the feast. It began again in the smallest acts of her ordinary day. That is the spirituality we will explore. A spirituality that continues the feast through tiny gestures of love. For Thérèse, holiness was never about carrying yesterday's emotion. It was about living today with intention. And so the day after the Immaculate Conception becomes fertile ground for grace, not through grand resolutions, but through small choices that honor what Mary lived perfectly: humility, purity of intention, and trust. In this journey, we will uncover 3 small daily actions you can begin right away. Actions that transform ordinary moments into hidden offerings pleasing to God. These are simple enough for the busiest person, gentle enough for the most wounded heart, and deep enough for the soul longing to remain close to Mary. For now, take a slow breath. Let your heart settle. Let the remembrance of the Immaculate Conception soften your spirit, because the feast does not end with the final prayer, it continues in you, and God is ready to meet you in the small things. The first small daily action Saint Thérèse of Lisieux invites you to practice after the Feast of the Immaculate Conception is one that flows directly from Mary's heart. It is simple, quiet, and hidden, yet it opens the soul to grace in a way that is both tender and profound. This first action is: begin each day with a small act of purity of intention. Not a long prayer, not a complicated ritual, just a simple offering of your heart. Thérèse believed that what pleases God most is not the size of what you do, but the intention behind it. She wrote, "The smallest action, if done with a pure intention, is more valuable than the greatest accomplished without it." Mary lived her entire life in this purity of intention, doing everything not for recognition, fear, or pressure, but simply out of love for God. Imagine the morning after the Feast of the Immaculate Conception in the convent of Lisieux. The chapel is dim, lit by early sun filtering through stained glass. The wooden benches are cold. The air is still. The celebration has passed, and silence fills the sanctuary. Thérèse enters quietly, her footsteps soft on the stone floor. She kneels, bows her head, and says in the simplest way, "My God, I offer you everything that will happen today. Make my heart pure." That's all. No ornament, no drama, just a pure intention. This is what she invites you to do before checking your phone, before speaking to anyone, before the rush of responsibilities begins. Pause for just a moment and offer the day to God. Offer your thoughts, your decisions, your work, your imperfections, your hopes, your challenges. Ask Him to purify your motives, to guide your heart, to help you desire what is pleasing to Him. This small act brings 3 graces. 1. Clarity. You begin with direction rather than confusion. 2. Peace. You begin with surrender rather than control. 3. Purity. You begin with love rather than self-centeredness. It is a daily way of echoing Mary's fiat, her simple and complete yes to God. Thérèse lived this every morning, even when she didn't feel spiritual, even when she felt tired or discouraged, even when nothing special was happening. Her purity of intention never depended on emotion, it depended on willingness, and that willingness was enough to delight God. Think of how your day might change if you began it like Thérèse, quietly, gently, offering everything before anything begins. How many worries would lose their weight? How many fears would soften? How many decisions would be guided rather than forced? Holiness begins with intention, and intention begins with a simple offering. Try it tomorrow morning. Whisper something like, "Lord, I offer you this day. Let every little thing be done with love." This is the first daily action. The purification of the heart at sunrise. The second small daily action to practice after the feast of the Immaculate Conception is one that Sainte Thérèse of Lisieux lived with remarkable gentleness, a practice so simple and quiet that it often passes unnoticed, yet it has the power to transform your entire spiritual life from the inside out. It is this: offer one small hidden sacrifice each day with love. Not a dramatic sacrifice, not something painful or heroic, just one small thing, something no one else sees, something no one else celebrates, something that belongs only to you and God. Thérèse believed that hidden sacrifices were among the most beautiful gifts a soul could offer. She wrote, "To love is to give everything, and to give oneself." And she believed that the smallest sacrifice, when offered with love, becomes a spark that warms the heart of God. Imagine the day after the feast of the Immaculate Conception in the convent. The joyful hymns of yesterday still echo softly in memory, but the routine has returned. The dishes must be washed, the halls must be swept, the sisters must be served. Life goes on as simple and ordinary as ever, and in the midst of that ordinariness, Thérèse chooses a hidden sacrifice. Maybe she takes the coldest water for herself at washing time. Maybe she holds back a sharp reply when someone speaks harshly. Maybe she gives up a small comfort without telling anyone. Maybe she endures a moment of irritation silently, offering it to God with love. These small sacrifices, unnoticed by everyone, became her way of continuing the feast. Because for Thérèse, holiness was not about feeling holy, but about choosing love in small moments. And after a great feast like the Immaculate Conception, this daily sacrifice becomes a way of honoring Mary's humility and purity. Mary did not seek the spotlight. She lived hidden in Nazareth, offering her days to God in ways the world never saw. Thérèse imitated this hiddenness, and she invites you to do the same. Think of your own day. You will face small annoyances, small inconveniences, small temptations to impatience or frustration. These are not obstacles to holiness. They are invitations to it. So choose one, just one. A small moment you will transform into an offering. Maybe you give up complaining about something. Maybe you forgive silently. Maybe you let someone go first. Maybe you accept a delay without irritation. Maybe you refrain from gossip. Maybe you smile even when you don't feel like it. Choose one small sacrifice and give it to God with love. This pleases Him more than you realize, because hidden sacrifices resemble Mary's hidden life, and they resemble Jesus, who spent most of his life unnoticed, working quietly in Nazareth. This is the second daily action after the Immaculate Conception. A hidden offering, a secret gesture of love known only to God. The third small daily action to practice after the feast of the Immaculate Conception is the one Sainte Thérèse of Lisieux considered the most essential. The quiet foundation beneath all spiritual growth, the anchor of the little way, and the action that most perfectly reflects the heart of Mary. It is this: end each day by placing yourself entirely in God's mercy. Not analyzing every mistake, not criticizing yourself harshly, not measuring your failures or successes, not promising yourself perfection tomorrow, simply placing yourself gently, humbly, honestly, into the arms of God. Thérèse wrote, "It is confidence, and nothing but confidence, that must lead us to love." This was her entire spiritual philosophy. And for her, the most important moment to express this confidence was at the end of the day, when the heart is tired, when imperfections feel heavy, when the soul needs tenderness more than anything. Imagine the end of a winter day in the convent. The corridors are dim, the lamps flicker softly, the sisters have gone to rest. Thérèse kneels at her bedside, her small hands folded, her face calm, despite the weariness of the day. She does not recount her failures with anxiety. She does not try to fix everything in her mind. She does not punish herself spiritually. Instead, she whispers, "My God, I did what I could. The rest I leave to you." This is the third daily action, the surrender of your whole day into the mercy of God. It is the most intimate way to honor Mary after the feast of the Immaculate Conception, because Mary lived in constant trust that God would guide her, forgive her, lead her, protect her, and carry her through every uncertainty. And Thérèse followed her. She believed that true holiness is not about perfect days. It is about ending imperfect days with perfect trust. Think of your own evenings. Perhaps you regret something you said. Perhaps you feel you didn't pray enough. Perhaps you feel frustrated, distracted, or spiritually dull. Perhaps you failed at the small sacrifice you chose earlier. Perhaps you simply feel tired and overwhelmed. Thérèse gently tells you, don't carry any of it into tomorrow. Let the day fall into God's hands. Let His mercy erase what needs erasing. Let His love heal what needs healing. Let His tenderness hold what feels heavy. This small action transforms the way you experience God. You begin to see Him not as a judge waiting to tally your mistakes, but as a Father waiting to hold you. You begin to live your spiritual life not with fear, but with freedom. You begin to welcome each new day with a child's joy rather than a burdened heart. And this pleases God deeply, because trust, especially at the end of the day, is the soul's way of saying, I know you love me. I know you will take care of me. I abandon myself to you. This is the third daily action, a nighttime surrender, a childlike rest in divine mercy. When you place these three small daily actions side by side, beginning your day with purity of intention, offering one hidden sacrifice, and ending the day in God's mercy, something quiet and miraculous begins to happen inside the soul. The transformation is not sudden, dramatic, or loud. It is gentle, slow, almost imperceptible, yet profoundly real. Saint Thérèse of Lisieux believed that holiness is formed exactly in this way, through small, faithful repetitions of love that reshape the heart over time. Imagine a stone path warmed by the morning sun. Each day, a feather falls softly on its surface, barely noticeable. No single feather seems significant, but after months the weight of these feathers becomes real. They accumulate. They leave a mark. In the same way, the weight of small daily acts of love slowly transforms the soul in ways that large, infrequent acts never could. This is the quiet power of the little way. Morning intention purifies the direction of your heart. Daily sacrifice strengthens your love. Evening surrender anchors your trust. Together, they create a rhythm, a spiritual heartbeat, that pleases God deeply. Think about how your days normally begin. You might wake to noise, responsibilities, thoughts racing, worries about the future, leftover emotions from yesterday. But when you begin with a pure intention, you reclaim the day before anything else claims you. You realign your heart with Mary's purity and Thérèse's simplicity. Then, as the day unfolds, difficulties and irritations inevitably appear. But instead of seeing them as obstacles, you now see them as small invitations to love, brief moments when you can unite yourself with Mary's hidden humility. A single sacrifice, chosen quietly, begins to shift the way you respond to life. With time, these sacrifices soften impatience, purify selfishness, and strengthen the soul's ability to love without being seen. And finally, when the day ends, you fall not into regret or self-criticism, but into mercy. You let God hold your day instead of holding it yourself. This daily surrender detoxifies your heart from anxiety, perfectionism, and spiritual pride. You go to sleep the way a child curls into the arms of a parent, free, trusting, at peace. What happens when you live this rhythm for days, weeks, months? You begin to notice something. Your heart becomes quieter, your reactions become gentler, your worries lose some of their force, your days feel more meaningful, your imperfections feel less threatening, your relationship with God feels more intimate, more natural, more childlike. And this is precisely the transformation Thérèse spoke of, a transformation not born from effort, but from surrender. You do not force yourself to become holy. You simply let love enter your day in small, consistent ways. And slowly, very slowly, holiness begins to bloom in the soil of your ordinary life. These 3 small daily actions do something even deeper than shape your spiritual habits. They draw your heart into a quiet, living union with the Immaculate Heart of Mary herself. After the feast of the Immaculate Conception, the Church celebrates the mystery of Mary's perfect purity, her humble obedience and her gentle openness to God. But Saint Thérèse of Lisieux teaches us something profound. The way to honor Mary is not by imitating her extraordinary privileges, but by imitating her ordinary virtues. Mary lived most of her life not in miracles, visions, or extraordinary moments, but in the quiet, hidden rhythm of daily love. Nazareth was her school of holiness, and it became the model for Thérèse's entire little way. Let us look closer. When you begin each day with a pure intention, your heart stands beside Mary at dawn. Just as she whispered her daily yes to God, in her kitchen, at the well, in her hidden tasks, you whisper yours. You start the day aligned with her humility, her readiness, her availability. You begin to live the purity the feast celebrates. Then, as you offer one hidden sacrifice during the day, you imitate Mary's hidden life. Mary endured fatigue, misunderstanding, poverty, long journeys, and countless ordinary burdens, all without recognition. Her sacrifices were quiet, invisible, wrapped in love. And when you offer one small sacrifice, a moment of patience, silence, kindness, restraint, you step into her way of loving. Your sacrifice becomes a tiny echo of her daily life. And then, at the end of the day, when you surrender everything into God's mercy, you place your heart where Mary always placed hers, totally, trustfully, completely in God. She did not cling to her efforts. She did not fear her weaknesses. She trusted God with everything. And when you rest your day in mercy, you imitate her deepest posture of the heart. Thérèse understood this perfectly. She wrote, "Mary is more mother than queen." To her, Mary was not merely a figure on a pedestal. She was a tender mother who wanted to lead small souls through simple paths. These 3 daily actions are precisely the kind of small, accessible steps Mary invites her children to make. And little by little, you begin to notice something subtle. Mary's gentleness becomes your gentleness. Her humility becomes your humility. Her trust becomes your trust. Her purity becomes your purity. Her hidden love begins to shape the hidden places of your own soul. The Immaculate Conception is not only a feast to admire, it is a grace to live. And the way to live it is not grand, it is not loud, it is not dramatic. It is small, it is daily, it is simple, it is tender, it is possible. With each sunrise, with each sacrifice, with each surrender, the heart of Mary and the heart of Thérèse walk beside your own, guiding you gently along a path that pleases God in the hidden corners of ordinary life. We have walked with Saint Thérèse of Lisieux through the quiet landscape of the soul, a landscape shaped not by extraordinary visions, but by small daily gestures that echo the purity of Mary and the tenderness of God. Now in this final movement, we gather these 3 actions like delicate white flowers and place them before the Immaculate Heart, trusting that what is small in your eyes is precious in God's. Imagine the morning after the feast of the Immaculate Conception through Thérèse's eyes. The celebration has faded, the hymns no longer fill the chapel, the candles have burned low, but grace remains, hidden, waiting, ready to be lived. Thérèse steps into her ordinary tasks not with the weight of perfection, but with the lightness of a little soul who knows that God is pleased with small things done with great love. And this is the secret she hands to you now. Begin your day with a pure intention, soft, sincere, offered before the world, pulls your heart in 100 directions. This intention is not a promise of perfection, it is a positioning of the heart. It directs your first breath toward God. It washes away the confusion of yesterday. It aligns your soul with Mary's yes and opens a window for grace to enter. Then choose one hidden sacrifice, something small, something no one else will see. This sacrifice becomes your quiet offering, your kiss of love to God, your imitation of Mary's hidden life in Nazareth. It is the moment you choose patience over irritation, silence over complaint, generosity over self-protection. Thérèse believed that such small sacrifices delight God because they arise not from force but from love. And at night, when the day feels heavy or imperfect, surrender it into God's mercy. Do not analyze endlessly. Do not judge yourself harshly. Do not try to fix the past. Lay everything, the good, the broken, the unfinished, into His hands. Rest in the same trust that Thérèse had when she whispered, "Jesus, I abandon myself to your love." These 3 actions, repeated daily, become a spiritual heartbeat, a rhythm of purity, sacrifice, and surrender. They turn ordinary life into a chapel. They turn familiar routines into offerings. They turn weakness into trust, trust into peace, and peace into love. And slowly, quietly, they draw you closer to God in a way that is tender, sustainable, and deeply real. The world seeks greatness, but Thérèse teaches you something far more beautiful. God seeks littleness, the kind of littleness that makes room for Him. As you live these daily actions, you will begin to notice a transformation that comes not from effort, but from grace. Your reactions soften, your patience deepens, your worries lose their sharpness. You begin to live gently, humbly, lightly. You begin to love the way Mary loved, in hiddenness, simplicity, purity, and trust. This is the true fruit of the feast of the Immaculate Conception, not only honoring Mary, but becoming more like her, not only celebrating grace, but receiving it, not only remembering the feast, but continuing it, quietly, in your ordinary days. Saint Thérèse would smile at this journey. She would remind you that heaven is built on simple acts, and she would whisper to your heart, "Do small things with great love, and God will do the rest." Your little way continues now.